Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take you on a journey into the unparalleled artistry and cultural significance of the great Arthel Lane Doc Watson, a man whose very name conjures the quintessence of American music. In an age that often shuns authenticity for the trappings of the synthetic, Doc Watson stood as a luminous paragon of what it means to be real, not merely as a musician, but as a human being. Born in the modest town of Deep Gap, North Carolina, Watson's life was one of simplicity, but it was the kind of simplicity that illuminates the soul. He was a man who lost his sight before he could barely comprehend the concept of vision, yet he saw clearer than most of us ever will. His blindness, a supposed disadvantage, became an aperture through which he channeled every ounce of his being into the auditory realm, creating music that transcended the bounds of geography, class, and time. Let us speak then of his instrument, his guitar, which in his hands became not a tool but a companion, a co-conspirator in his artistic endeavors. Watson's flat-picking technique, revolutionary yet deceptively unassuming, breathed life into bluegrass, folk, and Appalachian traditions in a way that felt both sacred and secular. It is not hyperbole to suggest that his playing summoned a kind of divine truth, but it was a truth rooted not in the ephemeral promises of religion, but in the tangible, universal language of music. And his voice. Oh, what a voice! It was the voice of the hills, of the back roads, of the front porch, yet it carried within it a wisdom and gravitas that belied the man's humble origins. Watson could take an old murder ballad or a wistful love song and imbue it with a pathos so profound that it could make the stones weep. This was a man who could transform Shady Grove or Tennessee Stud into something almost Shakespearean, a reminder of our shared humanity, of the enduring power of storytelling. But Doc Watson was not merely a virtuoso, he was a democratizer. He understood, perhaps better than anyone, that music is not the preserve of the elite or the privileged. It is, and always should be, the province of the people. Watson's warmth, humility, and refusal to rest on the laurels of his immense talent made him a figure of the utmost integrity. He played for the joy of it, for the connection it brought him to his fellow man, and for the preservation of traditions that might otherwise have been left to wither on the vine of modernity. In every note he played, in every song he sang, Watson gave us a mirror in which we could see ourselves, not as fractured, divided individuals, but as members of a larger, more harmonious whole. His music reminded us that the most profound truths are often found not in the grandiose or the bombastic, but in the quiet, unassuming moments. In the pluck of a string, the hum of a melody, the touch of a father's hand on his son's shoulder. And what of his family? Here is a man who turned his son Merle into not just a collaborator, but a legacy-bearer, a torch-bearer for the Watson sound. Their bond, evident in every duet they performed, was a testament to the enduring power of music as a bridge between generations. Doc Watson was, in every sense of the word, a giant. Not in the way we think of giants, towering, larger-than-life figures who demand attention, but in the quiet, steady, unshakable way that mountains are giants. He loomed large not by force but by virtue, not by demanding reverence but by earning it. He was the kind of man who could remind you, through a single mournful note on his guitar, that art is not merely a refuge from life, but a means of understanding it. In an era dominated by pretense and performance, Doc Watson was the real thing. He didn't play to the gallery, and he didn't need to. He was, to borrow the phrase from Orwell, a man of the decencies. In his music we hear not just the sound of a man's fingers dancing across a fretboard, but the very essence of America, its struggles, its sorrows, its joys, and its boundless potential. To call Doc Watson a legend is almost to diminish him, for he was more than that. He was a force of nature, a custodian of culture, a living, breathing testament to the power of art to elevate, to console, and to unite. Let us honor him not with mere words, but by listening, truly listening, to the music he so generously gave to the world. For in doing so, we do not simply hear Doc Watson, we hear ourselves.